long time on the channel. Okay, so my usual mornings don't start without my cup of coffee and my newspaper. So few days back, I was going through this article and something struck me. How did this fine elixir of life reach India, and how did it even come into existence? And trust me on this, the story of coffee is quite satisfying. By the way, spoiler alert, your favorite coffee was discovered by goats. Editor, roll the intro. It all starts with a shepherd.
Around 870 CE, in somewhere near modern-day Yemen, a shepherd was grazing his goats in a field, and during the day, when he used to rest, his goats chewed on a cherry-like fruit, and when he woke up, he noticed that his goats were very energized. One day, he thought to himself and decided to eat those berries. As he tried the berries, and quite obviously, he too felt very energetic. Now a monk watched this boy chewing those berries every day to get energized. So one day, the monk goes to him and asks about the berries, and the monk gets surprised to hear about the magical berries. He takes some berries to his monastery where the monks use the berries to stay stimulated during their late night study sessions.
Strangely enough, historians don't believe this version of the story. Of course, it's a folklore being told for generations. But what historians believe is somewhat like this.
East African tribes used to grind coffee berries and mix it in animal fat to be used as a stimulant to keep their warriors energized during wars. Then later around 1000 AD, the Ethiopians concocted a wine by fermenting coffee beans in water. In the 11th century, coffee also grew on the Arab Peninsula, where for the first time it was made into a hot beverage somewhat similar to the modern day black coffee or Americano. Now the stimulating goodness of coffee during these times was considered to give some sort of religious ecstasy, and surprisingly, it earned a very strange, mysterious kind of reputation, often exchanged in secrecy among doctors and priests.
Okay, so coffee is very popular now. The priests have it, doctors are having it. How does it reach the common people like me and you? Well, for your surprise, it doesn't reach the common people until the 15th century.
In the 15th century, when coffee cultivation started in the Yemen province of Arabia. For many centuries, this region was the world's primary source of coffee. The demand for coffee in the Near East was extremely high, and the beans leaving the Yemeni port of Mocha for trade with Alexandria and Constantinople were highly guarded. In fact, no fertile plants were allowed to leave the country.
So by now, coffee is very popular in the Middle East and the Arab world, but it hasn't reached Europe. So what happens when coffee reaches Europe?
In 1500s, coffee reaches Europe through Venice, where fleets traded perfumes, teas, dyes, and fabrics with Arabic merchants along the spice route. The beverage eventually gained popularity with the masses when street lemonade vendors began selling it in addition to cold beverages. Many European merchants grew accustomed to drinking coffee overseas and brought it back with them. The first European coffee house was established in Oxford, England in 1637. By 1640, Venice had its first coffee house, followed by France in 1644. By the early 18th century, coffee houses had become cultural hubs across Europe.
That was the coffee story of the world, and now let's come to India. And to my question which I asked in the beginning of the video, how did this inseparable part of my morning routine and the cure to my headache be de-caff coffee test unit reach India? Basically, how did coffee come to India? Spoiler alert, the first coffee beans were smuggled in India.
In the 16th century, the Sufi monk called Baba Budan changed the course of Indian coffee history. Returning from a pilgrimage, he cleverly smuggled 7 raw coffee beans back to India, hidden in his beard. These precious beans were planted in the hills of Chikmagalur, laying the foundation for what would later become India's coffee industry. Though little is known about the early cultivation efforts until the colonial era. By the 18th century, British entrepreneurs recognized the potential of coffee and transformed the forests of southern India into thriving commercial plantations. Indian coffee, particularly the Indian Arabica, known then as Mysore coffee, gained popularity in Europe. A notable blend from this period is the Monsoon Malabar Double A, still cherished today. However, World War II disrupted European markets, leading to the decline of Mysore coffee's prominence. Despite these challenges, coffee has become deeply ingrained in Indian culture, from the aromatic South Indian filter coffee served with milk and sugar to various regional twists like adding cardamom or ginger. Coffee is enjoyed by people across all ages and backgrounds. Cafes and homes alike brew this beloved beverage. Today, India stands as one of the world's leading producers, consumers, and exporters of coffee, with its rich history woven into the fabric of the nation's diverse culture.
Now, coming to the closing note, the story of coffee is not only how a simple fruit turned into the finest beverage known to mankind, but it's also a story about how cultures and communities around the world we know today evolved over time, and how it changed the beverage market of the world we know today. Today, coffee is the fourth most consumed beverage across the globe. If you have watched till here, then I would like to thank you and appreciate your patience. If you want to learn more about coffee and how it changed the world, feel free to check the resources in the description box below. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Jai Hind.